Morning, thank you for joining us. We'll be starting the webinar very shortly.
Give it one more minute. Okay, it's 11:30. We're definitely expecting a couple more, so I might just give them one more minute and then we should start. Good morning. Just waiting for a couple more people to join and then we shall start shortly. Thank you for joining us. Okay, perfect. I think I'm going to call it. Shall we crack on, Anna? We will be recording this webinar, so don't worry about trying to capture any notes. Furiously, you'll get sent a copy in the next couple of days. So please do just sit back and relax. Just a couple of bits of housekeeping before we do get started. We have muted everyone's microphones, but if you have got any questions, do please feel free to raise your hand or use the chat facility to pop them in as we go. Alternatively, we've got a time for Q&A at the end, so we can open mics then if you want to ask anything directly. If you'd rather do it in the privacy of your own email, we are also sharing our contact details throughout the webinar deck, so do feel free to reach out to either Anna or myself later on. The estimated length of the webinar is about 30 minutes, and then like I say, I've got some time for questions and answers at the other end. And we are recording it, so you will get your opportunity to watch this as many times as you like and share it as far and widely as you wish. But on that basis, I think we should start. Cool, brilliant. So welcome everyone. Just wanted to start with a little bit of information about the Curve Group for those of you who may not be so familiar with who we are. So we are the UK's largest privately owned recruitment and HR outsourcer, and we provide HR recruitment solutions across the entire employee lifecycle. So right the way from workforce planning through to sourcing interaction, screening and selection, HR administration, ER, and then exit and change management. So we do the whole wheel. Our solutions are fully configurable, so we mould them around businesses and their own particular needs. And we, in some instances, act as a company's entire HR recruitment function. In other instances, we kind of jump in on a project basis just to provide additional capacity or support as and when needed. We are very passionate about what we do, which hopefully will come across today, and we're very proud of what we deliver. Our mission is to transform working lives, as simple as that. So we're always really happy when we get recognised for the work that we do with our clients and our candidates. And we've just got a small selection of some of our recent awards and accolades on the screen in front of you. So some very quick introductions. My name is Sam Peasy. I am the head of marketing at the Curve Group, and it's probably quite obvious why employer brand is very important to me and very close to my heart, both from a Curve perspective, but also the projects that I support with in terms of our actual delivery with clients that we're recruiting for and supporting with their HR requirements. I'm joined by the lovely Anna Clapton, who heads up our HR consultancy function. Anna has a huge wealth of experience of supporting businesses of all shapes and sizes with their employee value propositions and their brands and retention and attraction strategies. So welcome, Anna. So what's coming up today on this webinar? I'm going to hand over to Anna shortly just to talk a little bit around the impact of COVID-19 on the job market as we know it. There's lots going on, which I'm sure you're aware of, but I think Anna's going to start just to give you a bit of context to why we think this webinar is particularly timely. I'll then touch on why employer brands and EVPs are so important, particularly at the moment. Share some great examples of what other brands and people are doing to promote theirs. Anna will then talk about how to really take stock of what currently is and perhaps isn't working so well in your business. Then jump back to me to look at some of the options that you might have in front of you when it comes to either building or improving your existing employer brands or EVPs. Then Anna will cover off some top tips of sort of kind of leaving messages, and then, like I say, we'll open to Q&A at the end. So Anna, to kick us off, would you like to talk about what's going on in the job market at the moment?
Yeah, so firstly, good morning, everybody. Lovely to have you with us today. For those of you that have joined some of our webinars in the past, the next couple of slides may be a little bit familiar to you, but it certainly is a hot topic at the moment in terms of what's happening in the marketplace. So Microsoft's work trend has actually reached the conclusion that 41% of the global workforce are considering a job change. If not now, then absolutely in the next year. The number of open vacancies is absolutely at an all-time high, and it's the highest that it's been in for 23 years. And here at the Curve Group, we're definitely noticing that, feeling that, and working through that with our clients that we look after from a recruitment outsource perspective, and the number of vacancies that we've got at the moment. The supply of workers has reduced sharply, and there is declines currently going on across the market, and it is declining at the quickest rate since May 2017. Some of this is definitely down to Brexit, some of this is definitely down to the EU settlement scheme and the points-based system, and some of it is definitely down to COVID, where a number of individuals have taken the decision to move back to their home countries as well. Remote working options are definitely opening up new opportunities for candidates, where we are working with organisations that always said, no, you can't work from home, there is no flexibility, you've got to be in the building 9 till 5, 5 days a week. That is definitely not the case anymore. So, you know, it definitely is a candidate-led market where people now can get a London-based role, but live absolutely out in the sticks with no problems whatsoever. And I've already mentioned it, but definitely Brexit. So the freedom of movement for the EU citizens ended. Points-based immigration system is in place, and even though people are being awarded those point-based immigration schemes and they've got the right to settle, some of them are only actually able to get right to settle for a shorter period of time rather than right to remain, and that's having a big impact as well. So in addition to that, definitely the way that roles are being resourced, normally you would only see headhunting for the non-exec levels roles, but for the exec levels roles, but currently at the moment, headhunting is actually going on for a number of roles. So that's even the roles down as low as kind of anywhere between 19 and 20,000 upwards, just to kind of get the right people in the right places. Salaries are definitely being inflated, and again, we've seen that in our own organisation, where individuals are being poached and are being kind of approached to go and work for other recruitment agencies or other outsourced organisations with definitely inflated salaries. Recruitment dropout rates, so where you do successfully fill a role at the moment, what we are finding is that just as you start to get them over the line, so they've gone all the way through their offer process, all the way through getting their onboarding sorted out, all the way through their pre-employment screening, and then just at the last minute they're being counter offered. So there's quite a lot of that going on at the moment as well. And that's why employee brands, EVPs, are really under pressure. So this is why now, more than any time really, it's really important to get both of these compelling messages out there and to get them right.
Thank you, Anna. So hopefully, as Anna has just eloquently explained, and just given some insights into what's going on in the market at the moment when it comes to both attracting and retaining talent, and all the challenges that businesses are or will be facing, it should be really, really clear why we're here today, why we want to talk about employer brands at EVP, and why they're so important now more than ever. And I thought I would just start on touching really what we mean, just explaining what we mean by an employer brand and what we mean by an employee value proposition. So apologies if I'm teaching anyone to suck eggs, I thought it was a good place to start. And I think on reflection, often employer brands don't necessarily start as something that are beautifully, perfectly constructed. Unlike if you're beginning a new business and you quite often commission a design agency to put your brand board together, it's quite different. And they kind of grow organically to start with if you're a sort of smaller business working your way up through the ranks. And really, I think, again, I was thinking about this earlier this morning, and an employer brand is almost formed by your potential, your existing and your past employees. And it's really their views on what it's like to work at your business, or has been like, or what it could be like. And that's all well and good, but as you start to grow, and if you've got, you know, ambitious plans and you want to bring more people on board and kind of take over the world a bit more, it's really, really important that as a business and as a leader, that you take control of that employer brand, so that you're making sure that it is reflecting your true values, the way that you do work with your employees, your mission, your ethos, and your whole approach, so that it's really speaking to the market and to all of your potential candidates and helping to sort of stand you out from the crowd, against everybody else. It's also looking for the same skill set at the moment. So it needs to establish you as a credible employer and an employer of choice. And then if you think about your EVP, as we keep calling it, employee value proposition, it's more of a psychological contract. This is the phrase that I keep coming across all the time. That's kind of the unwritten rule almost, although some companies do try and distill it into a sentence or two. But it's really about what is the agreement that you both make to each other, you as a business, as an employer, and your candidate, once they're coming to join you. What are the agreements about what you're going to give each other in reward for time, effort, energy, commitment? So what are you going to give to that employee to reward them for coming to work and spend their time and use their skills in your business? What are they, what do you expect of them in return in terms of behaviours? And so it's kind of that unwritten rule, it's that unwritten contract sort of understanding. So both, but obviously very critical areas when it's such a phenomenally candidate-led market at the moment. And we know that, as Anna said, open vacancy rates have gone up past 1 million, which is just incredible. So they're really, really important. And depending obviously on the size of the organisation that you're in, you may or may not have formalised your employer brand or EVP, which is fine. We'll come on how to review, refresh, develop and improve these later on. But first of all, just wanted to give you some examples of how some other very well-known businesses are really leveraging their brand as an employer and leveraging their employee value proposition. We're going to start with a video, which is from John Lewis Partnership, and it's a video that's on their careers page. It's the first thing that candidates see when they land on their page when they're looking at open opportunities. It is 3 minutes long, but I think it's worth showing you the whole thing, so do please stick with it, and we'll talk about why I wanted to show it to you afterwards. Here we go.
Our way of doing business
is a better way of doing business.
Because for us, it's personal.
The John Lewis Partnership started as an experiment almost 100 years ago. The vision of our founder, John Speeden Lewis.
And it's been working ever since.
He believed a business could be successful and socially responsible, benefiting partners, customers, suppliers, and communities.
It was pretty radical thinking back then.
And we've since grown to become the largest employee-owned business in the UK, with 2 of the country's best-loved brands.
We all get a democratic vote
on how we run the business.
And a fair share of the profit too.
We put the happiness of our partners at the centre of everything we do.
That's why I've been here for 17 years.
And why I joined this year.
Our partners, as responsible owners, strive to deliver outstanding service for customers and each other.
We put in a great day's work every day.
We work with our suppliers to source responsibly.
We make a good team.
And we have our own farm and products. We're reducing our environmental impact by making all our own product packaging widely recyclable, reusable or home compostable.
And we're already well on our way.
We delight our customers through outstanding products, food and service.
It's nice to put a smile on people's faces.
And we support the communities we live and work in.
Because we're all connected.
But it's not just what we do, it's how we do it.
We know that makes all the difference.
That's why we have our 5 partnership values.
We do right. Take an all or nothing approach.
Give more than we take.
Strive to be ourselves, always.
And we believe in we, not me.
The world of retail is reinventing itself. Technology is transforming the way we shop, and the needs of our customers are changing faster than ever. But we're rising to each new challenge, as every generation of partners has done so before us, helping our customers buy well, live well, eat well, and look and feel great.
Our way of doing business is a better way of doing business.
Because for us,
For us.
for us,
For us, it's personal.
Perfect. Thank you for hanging on. I can see that you did stick with it, as I hoped you would. So a couple of things then, really, I wanted to draw attention to. The language, I think that's incredibly emotive. And like I say, it's one of the first things that candidates will see and will see from the perspective of other employees. It's not kind of the big wigs sat in the big exec office sort of talking down, but it's a whole blend of different employees talking about their experience. There's things, you know, they call out the fact that they're partners. They're not just employees, they're partners of the business. They get to vote on the direction of the business. There are lots of fantastic references in there to the fact that they're a sustainable business. They're working with communities. They've clearly got a great diverse mix of candidates. They've got people that are staying long term, and there'll be reasons behind that. So hopefully you can see that there are some really, really strong messages in that video, which really help to enhance the employer brand. And Anna and I were saying early this morning, having watched it again, actually, we'd love to work for John Lewis because we're sold. You know, it's a brilliant way of presenting yourself to potential candidates. Really, really powerful. Now, I just want to flash up a couple of other examples. Again, these are all big brands, and this language that's on all of these guys' websites and career sites. But really, it doesn't matter if you haven't got a huge budget behind you to spend any money on the kind of your wording around your brand or your EVP, but it's the essence behind it. And you'll see that, you know, Microsoft, Google, Salesforce, they all talk about the way that they will treat their employees and what their employees will be given in return for coming and working with them. So they've got the usual kind of suspects in there around, you know, remuneration, benefits, but training, skills, equality, autonomy, support, being able to work in a great working environment. That's all great stuff that any business of any size should be looking in on themselves to see if that's something that they could improve on or promote to help them with your own candidate attraction. So just a couple of examples. But like I say, a lot of these guys that you can see on here, they've got completely separate careers-based websites. So they keep all of this content away, and they've got a huge platform, and they can chuck money at making fancy videos. But actually there's some real simple stuff there in terms of messaging, which as long as you then take that back inside your business and help to put those steps in process, so it's not just lip service, will, you know, take you so far in terms of attracting and retaining talent. So just some examples. Now I'm going to hand over to Anna, who's kind of going to talk about how, you know, as an employer, you can start to think about taking stock as to what's working and what isn't working in your business in terms of your employer brand and your EVP.
So thank you very much, Sam. So just like Sam said, let's have a look about taking stock. So where do you start? How do you formulate your plan, and where do you begin? And actually, a lot of the stuff that we've come up with here are things that you may already be doing, things that if you're not doing, they're really simple to put in place, and you don't necessarily need a massive budget to be able to do it. So I'm just going to run down the list and I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of each one. So our first starting point is always to look online and just think about the research. So if you were an outsider looking in, have a look at what does it look like for your company. So if you were to Google your company, what does it look like? What does the recruitment process look like? What comes up? What kind of things can you kind of find out about yourself if you were someone brand new and you were looking from the outside in, because it's always a good telltale sign. How easy it is to find out what recruitment opportunities that you've got at the moment. How easy is it to find out what your values and your behaviours look like, again, from an outsider looking in. So another easy one to do, new starter surveys. We would always suggest that you do these for any new employees that come on board and join your organisation, normally anywhere between kind of 4 to 8 weeks. So if you do them any earlier than that, you're not going to get a true experience, purely because they're normally still in that fantastic honeymoon period. But what you're trying to get out of these new starter surveys is things like, how was it for them? Was their IT ready? Have they got some objectives? Do they know where to find things? How can you make that better and easier for them? Thinking about employee survey. So this is either an annual survey where you do a full employee opinion survey, you have a set amount of questions and you absolutely get everybody or as many people to take part, and then you do something with the results, which is more important. And also every now and then you can just do a pulse survey, just find out how people are feeling, what's on their mind, what's the hot topic, pick a topic, do one every quarter, but pick a different topic, pick a different area of the organisation, pick different opportunities or different ideas that you want to get out of them. And exactly the same way, exit interviews. So if you do have individuals that leave your organisation, obviously sometimes they have reached the end of their career path or they're ready to move on to something new, but it would be fantastic to find out, what is it like for you to be an employer of choice? What is it like that they loved about the organisation? What do you think they could do better? What can you do with all of that information? Focus groups. So again, pick a topic, could be about your values, could be around your branding, could be something bigger, could be about your website, could be around new starters, could be about absolutely anything you decide, but come up with a focus group. You don't have to do all of this single-handedly. You've got an army of individuals out there that work with you, alongside you, for you, your peers, everything. So use those individuals to get all of that great information out. If you've got the ability to do so, then please do look at your data and your MI. It can tell you a wondrous amount of stories. And again, you don't need to have complex system to do that. Even just finding out what your kind of response rates are like on surveys tells you quite a lot of information. Things like your attrition rates, things like your retention rates, all of that MI is basic MI that you can get hold of and you can use. Anonymous feedback is absolutely fantastic, and if your IT department are able to do so, get them to set up an anonymous feedback or an anonymous questionnaire inbox where any employee can answer any question and feel in a safe environment to do so. External platforms are really, really key, and when we talk about external platforms, that can be anything from Investors in People through to Glassdoor, through to LinkedIn, through to any other social media platform that there is at the moment, but use those external platforms to your advantage. And believe it or not, that does include things like Instagram and Facebook. They can all work to your advantage as well. And then have an open door policy. So if you are an organisation where you do have any form of hierarchy and you're all back in the real world and you've got offices, please do have that fantastic open door policy where anyone and everybody can come and talk to you or any one of your peers. I think the one thing I'd say out of all of that is there's quite a lot of either research or surveys that we've mentioned, or focus groups. With all of the information that you gather from all of those things, it's really key and really important that you do something with it, because otherwise people will not want to complete them and they'll think it's a waste of their time. So we'll come on to this, but it's really key that if they're giving you the information and they're giving you their time to kind of give you the information, that you do something with it. So you're going to expect some challenges along the way. I'm just going to bring all of these up onto the deck now. We have just come up with 12 really good ones here. I'm sure there'll be some others that you will come up with as well, but I'm just going to pick on a couple of them as well. So one thing that's very hot topic at the moment is diversity, inclusion or equality. So if you are doing any surveys or if you are looking at your onboarding facility, then I really would look at your diversity and inclusion and your equality. How are you capturing that information? What are you doing about it? And how are you taking it forward? Employees want more benefits, financial or other. So again, doesn't always necessarily have to be big monetary benefits. Sometimes it's just different ways in which they can be recognised and different ways in which you can recognise them for doing things. That can be as simple as giving them an extra day's holiday for every year's service up to a certain period, say for example 5 years, does go a long way. Employees don't feel that their objectives are well managed. So again, if that comes out, that's something that we would always recommend that you put in new starter surveys, and believe it or not, in exit interviews. Did you have objectives? Were you being managed to objectives? Could you get support? And actually, if that's coming out as something that is causing a challenge within your organisation, do you need to go back to the source and actually train your line managers on how to set objectives, manage objectives, and performance manage those objectives? So they're just a couple of the challenges that you may come across. Let's have a look at some of the positives now. Again, I'll do exactly the same, just pop all of these up. So an employee's journey with you starts really when they very first look to join you. So a fantastic onboarding process ready to start on day one is absolutely key. And that needs to start the second that they start engaging with your organisation. Flexible working to make work-life balance easier. Again, I think in the new world, there are so many organisations that have started to do this, but it does go a long way, having both the flexibility to work from home and the flexibility to work in the office, so that people get that real good balance. And also just making sure that people are working to their hours and that they're not suddenly feeling that if they're at home, that they're having to spend their normal commute time kind of working as well. That's where we'd bring in well-being and ensure that they're doing something in that commute time for them. Excellent development programs which deliver results and career development. Again, it's one of our previous webinars that we've run. One thing that we'd absolutely love to talk to any of you about, but it's really key, even in small organisations, that there is some form of career development and some results so that your individuals, your employees, know that they've got somewhere to go. So let's now take a look at some top tips. Oh, sorry, we're going to go on to so what now?
Don't worry. Thank you, Anna. So just a really quick slide, but as Anna mentioned, if you're doing your surveys, if you're gathering people, trying to get feedback to really look at what is and isn't working in terms of your employer brand and your employee value proposition, it's really important that you don't just go through all that kind of pain to bring everything to the surface and then just leave it. Use that information that you have to really look at that, analyse and scrutinise what's working really well, what's bringing people into the business, what's keeping them here, and then on the flip side, what's not working, where are you struggling to get people in, where are you struggling to retain them, and then look at that kind of root cause analysis. So do your analysis on the data, whether it's quantitative or qualitative. It's really simple, but the next thing is that you need to share that information and that analysis very broadly in your company. That's if you really want to get people to participate and to buy into surveys and make them feel on any level that they're worth involved in, spending their time on, the data, the findings should not just be sent off to exco or board level members of staff. It needs to be communicated with the entire business so they can see that you are actually genuinely serious about looking at making things better or increasing opportunities or kind of overcoming some of the challenges. So share the things that you found out, whether the good, the bad, the ugly. Obviously, there needs to be then a plan as to how you can make the most of the opportunities or overcome some of the challenges that are coming out in the wash. So get your plan together. As Anna said, you don't need to worry about doing all of this in splendid isolation. If there's just one of you in HR, or if it's just a senior leader, if you don't have a HR team yet, you don't have to carry all of this on your shoulder. Use the momentum that you gained through, reaching out across the company and getting the feedback from people to then engage employees at all different levels back into that plan and back into cracking on with the actions, and you'll find that you'll get a lot more traction and buy-in. Action, like we said, is really, really important. You need to go and do the doing. So don't overcommit and under-deliver. Make sure that you've got really clear plans. There might be lots of things that have come out in the wash. And actually what we'd recommend is taking more of a bite-sized approach, because you don't want to say that you're going to go and do this massive program of change, but because you've still got BAU to manage that you struggle to deliver, you don't want to kind of, again, lose that momentum, lose that trust. So pick off the ones that you need to focus on first and start working through them. And then again, really obvious, but once those actions have taken place and you've put those steps in place to make things better for your employer brand or for your EVP to retain your teams, leave it a little bit of time, let it bed in a bit, but then start that survey process again. It's never going to be a once and done thing. As we know, the world of work, the world of recruiting and retaining and employees, it's no longer a job for life. Employees now expect, rightly so, to get lots more back from their employers. So it's really, really important that you keep going around this cycle to make sure that you are remaining a very competitive and attractive employer of choice. And as we all know, candidates, employees, everyone's very vocal online when they're sat behind a keyboard. So other potential candidates that might be looking at your business will be doing their research on platforms like Glassdoor and social media that Anna mentioned. So it's very, very important to make sure that those feature within your plan, to make sure that you're counterbalancing negative reviews or recognising brilliant ones to, again, help you to attract and retain more talent. So really, really important. We're just going to let these pop up again because there's loads here and I'm mindful of time. I could talk about this forever, but I won't. There's lots of different things clearly that you can do to improve your employer brand and your employer value proposition. But clearly only do what you need to do in order to solve the challenges that you've recognised in your business based on the research and the data that you've done and gathered, or make the most of the opportunities that you've identified. One size absolutely does not fit all. That's why there's so many random options here, and this is just barely scratching the surface. But, you know, and if it's not broken, don't fix it. But if you are spotting trends and reoccurring themes that are causing issues when it comes to attracting people, if there's a blockage there, or if you're constantly losing people, you need to look at what's going on and kind of dig down into the weeds. So if you're getting feedback that people are leaving because they don't feel safe at work, perhaps they're in a particular environment where they're using machinery or equipment, or there's something else going on, you need to fix that. If you think your employees are telling you that they're not getting heard when there are issues, you can do simple things like establishing like an employee champion scheme through which they can kind of be representatives of different departments and then feed into your executive team on a monthly basis, sort of from the shop floor of things that they should be thinking about. As Anna said, if your induction process is letting you down, if you're losing people during that really important time, having spent so long trying to bring them on board, you do really need to pick that apart and look at what's not working, what you can make better, where is it failing, where is it falling over. Don't be afraid to change things if it means that you can it's easier for you to get the talent in-house and get them all the way in-house and not lose them, and then keep them and hopefully reward them with a training and recognition to stay with you. Maybe there's a pattern emerging that you've got conflict in your teams. There's potentially some training needed there for managers to resolve that and manage their team more effectively. Or it might be that your values or your behaviours aren't where they need to be now. You know, the world of work has changed quite dramatically in the last few years because it's been forced to. And it's probably a good time to take stock of those kind of core company values and behaviours. And again, it's those values and behaviours that you need to be pushing out and radiating out into the market in order to foreground your business as an attractive employer of choice. If you've got high leaver rates, look at the exit interview data. Like Anna said, it's phenomenal the amount of businesses that we've worked with that just don't do exit interviews, or they send a survey and then nobody ever looks at that information, yet they can't understand why they keep losing people. So there will be some golden nuggets of feedback in there. You know, it might be that actually you're not hiring the right people, which means that your interviewing, selection, sourcing process is broken and needs to be fixed. But it's really worth taking the time to look in all the detail, because as we'll all know, that it's a huge amount of investment for any business to recruit an employee and to bring them on board and to keep training them and developing them. So you need to make sure that your entire process works end to end. Lots of things here, too much to talk about in full detail, but if there are any kind of key points that you want to ask questions about or you want to come back to Anna or I individually about, to sort of think about ideas. If there are particular areas that are ringing bells with you in your company, then do feel free to reach out. But I'm just going to wrap up now and hand over to Anna to talk about top tips. Thank you, Anna. You're on mute, darling.
Classic. You can't go through a webinar without someone saying they're on mute, can you? Let's just talk through these top tips. So these are just our opinion of some of the easy things that you can do. So get buy-in from the business, make sure you engage. And as we said, please, do it from the bottom up and the top down. And please make sure it's all inclusive when in terms of doing it. Please do build a bite-sized plan. Don't try and deliver everything in splendid isolation. We've covered a lot today, and both Sam and I are quite passionate about this topic and could probably still be sitting here in an hour and a half going through all of those wills and challenges and positives. But just take the small bits that are relevant to your organisation and build just a small plan. And as we say, don't do it in splendid isolation. Use the individuals that you've got around you. Again, one thing that we've already mentioned, but please don't overcommit and under-deliver. You're almost better off doing it the other way. So actually over-delivering will delight the individuals that you've got and all of your employees, and actually will come a long way. It's great getting all of the feedback and doing all of the surveys. And as we said, if you are going to communicate, if you are going to do it all, then make sure you do communicate and engage. Just starting off, simple updates that say you did, we did, celebrate successes and be honest about challenges go a long way, because it means that you're keeping people informed along the way of what is going on. Think internal and external. The power of social media, as we are all very aware, is very powerful at the moment. So please do double check what's being said, what's being written, use it to your advantage and celebrate the fantastic successes that you get if they're really good feedback around Glassdoor. Map out your employee life cycle if you've not already done so. And while mapping it out, then you can map out your kind of how you want to bring some of this stuff to life in terms of brand and EVP as well. Think outside the box. There's lots of external providers that you can engage with. Some of them are free to work with, some of them are charities. Individuals like getting kind of ex-offenders back to work, getting kind of ex-military people back into the organisation. There are others such as Investors in People. All of those external providers are fantastic to work alongside and will bring on more attrition for your organisation. Ensure your approach is inclusive. One size doesn't always fit all, so you do need to make sure that you're including everyone, that you've got everybody involved along the way, and most importantly, just keep communicating on what you are doing. And then looking at your retention and your ongoing engagement. It's just like we said, you work really hard to get people on board at the moment. So once you've got them on board, what you want to do is keep them on board, and you want to do that by protecting your employee brand and everything that sits around it. So do take those away. If there's any of those that you'd like further information on, then Sam and I would be more than happy to chat through them with you. If there's anything else we can support you on along the way that we've covered today, conscious that we've covered a lot, then please do let us know. Again, conscious of time, but we are going to open up the floor to Q&A. Now there's a couple of options. By all means, we can unmute you, or you can ask us any questions. You've got the chat facility where you can ask us any questions, or alternatively, if you'd rather reach out to us independently, if there's anything that has attracted you today that you just want us to chat over with you, then please do so. Just while you're having a think about if there are any questions, let's just take you through and tell you what else is coming up. So this is how we've already said that we can support you. So we can support and develop any sort of strategic people plans that you've got and any roadmaps that you're looking at. Develop, refresh your employee value proposition and all your values. Sometimes outsiders working with your organisation actually brings out a little bit more than you can do internally. We can do some design, rollout and analyse all of your employee opinion surveys. We're absolutely more than happy to create and deliver leadership training and development programmes if you believe that any of those individuals are the source of some of your challenges. And absolutely, we can develop targeted attraction campaigns for your organisation to get the right talent to come and work alongside you. And then what else have we got coming up? So over the coming months, as we go through to the winter months, you'll notice that we're missing out December, but we are running something in October, November and January. And this is everything from mental health and wellbeing in the workplace, all the way through to a guide to competency-based interview techniques. And we will finish off the season with how to deliver an effective onboarding process for new starters. So lots of exciting stuff that is coming up for us to share with you, a little bit like today, just a free half an hour, 40-minute webinar. So I can't see any questions that are coming up. So all that's left for me to say is, on behalf of Sam and myself, thank you very much for attending today. Hope that you've got a few nuggets or a couple of gems of information out there that will help you. You will be sent a link to the recording in the next couple of days. And as I say, please do visit the website or contact us if we can help or support in any way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anna. Cheers, bye.